So, I just got done watching one of my favorite events of the year, the Game Awards. Of course, the Game Awards, which are run by Jeff Keighley every single year. This has been the 10th anniversary of the show. Not only is it essentially the Oscars for video games, but it is also just a mega event for game reveals. It's one of the big, three events. We get this, we get Gamescom, and we also get the Summer of Gaming, which has taken the spot of E3, because E3 died. Very sad. But the Game Awards has become sort of the big celebration of gaming every year, and most years I find it to be somewhat lacking when it comes to reveals, somewhat a little drawn out and boring, and just kind of a mess of advertisements and commercials and musical performances that nobody cares about. And although this one definitely had a lot of that stuff, it turned out to be one of the best gaming shows ever, I think, when it comes to reveals. We had a ton of reveals here. So much so that I'm stunned, I'm shocked, and I'm excited about the future of gaming. There were a lot of rumors heading into this event that we might get a first look at Resident Evil 9, the Max Payne remakes, and although those two things did not happen, we got a lot of stuff that I don't really think were on anybody's radars to be revealed. We got a lot of reveals for stuff that, although it's probably not coming out in 2025, maybe not even 2026, it at least gives us an idea of the direction the video game industry is going in, which is something we used to get a lot of, and we don't usually get anymore. It's very, let's focus on what's coming out next year, and I like when you could draw out excitement for years and years. I know it annoys people. Why reveal a game that's coming out in 2027? Why the fuck not? I'm gonna go in order and go through everything that was revealed, but I am going to start with actually something that's out of order. The biggest reveal of the whole event for me, and the thing I got most excited about, of course, the new Naughty Dog game. Now, this is something I was not expecting, but it's something I was so wanting, because Naughty Dog, of course, in 2020 released The Last of Us Part 2. A few years before that, they released Uncharted 4. They'd been alternating between The Last of Us and Uncharted for a little bit. The Last of Us Part 2 is one of my favorite games ever. The Last of Us Part 1, I just replayed it, and I'm gonna have a video out on the channel about it. Also, one of my favorite games ever. Naughty Dog is just, in my opinion, maybe the best developer out there. And for years, they've been developing a new game. We knew it's a new IP. We know they're also going to be making The Last of Us Part 3 eventually. They need to make a third season of the show, or a fourth season, I think, or whatever. The show's gotta keep going, so you need a new game eventually. But we had heard that there will be a new IP that is in between, The Last of Us Part 3 and The Last of Us Part 2. And I had no anticipation that that was going to be announced here, because Naughty Dog and Sony tend to announce their games at their own events. It's sort of like GTA, where you just know GTA's not going to be here because Rockstar does its own thing. Sony's kind of been the same way. You're not getting more Ghost of Tsushima stuff here. You're not getting, the new God of War. You're going to be getting a bunch of other stuff. The Sony's first party usually stays away from Jeff Keighley's events, at least when it comes to the big reveal. So I was shocked when Jeff Keighley came out with that one last thing. The game is called Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. It is, of course, going to be a space intergalactic sci-fi Naughty Dog adventure. So think what you get in those Naughty Dog games. These third-person, massive, story-driven experiences that have realistic gameplay, extremely well-made environments and graphics, and just some of the best storytelling there is. This game's going to be starring this chick who is a bounty hunter, an intergalactic bounty hunter, and she gets trapped on some faraway planet, some mysterious planet, that if you go to this planet, you don't get off it. Nobody has ever gone to this place and gotten off it in over 600 years. Your goal is going to be to, explore this planet and eventually get off. Now, there's going to be a lot more to it than that, but that's what they're giving us for now. And this trailer looks very much like a Naughty Dog game. You have the Easter eggs, you have the characters just being kind of a vibe, you have the music, just everything you usually get out of a Naughty Dog cutscene, you sort of see here. A lot of marketing, a lot of product placement. That was interesting. But this is just going to be a massive new IP, and hopefully, hope to God, this is another banger for Naughty Dog that'll eventually be made into a TV show for HBO Max, and be pretty damn good. And although I probably would have preferred The Last of Us Part 3, just because those games are so good, and I want more Last of Us, this is something I'm super excited for. After years and years and years of waiting, we know what Naughty Dog is doing next. Let's just hope we don't have to wait 6 years for this to come out. Hopefully it's an early 2026 game, or maybe even a late 2025 game. Alright, going back to the top of the event. The first thing that was shown, it was probably the most shocking reveal of the whole thing. Yet again, Naughty Dog I didn't think would show a game, but I knew that their reveal was coming soon. It had been enough years. This was something I definitely did not think I was going to see here. CD Projekt Red's next game, The Witcher 4. Now, of course, it's also been 4 years since the release of Cyberpunk. But we know CD Projekt Red has been through a lot of different things. They're making a bunch of games. We know that they're working on a bunch of different games, including this Witcher game that was revealed called, The Witcher 4. But we also know they're working on a Witcher 1 remake, as well as, Cyberpunk 2. So there's a lot going on with CD Projekt Red, and they, of course, take a very long time to make games. so I did not think we'd be hearing from them for a very long time, but we do have the reveal of The Witcher 4, a game that is going to be a direct follow-up to The Witcher 3, which I didn't think it would. I thought it was going to be like a reboot. We got a big cinematic trailer that seemed like an episode of that secret level show from Amazon. Like, there's really nothing here game-wise. We don't really know anything about this game when it comes to gameplay, when it's going to happen. Like, this game seems like a 2027, 2028 type release, but we know that it is coming, and we got a very great cinematic trailer for it. I'm excited because I was not really there to play The Witcher 3 when it first came out, and I didn't really love Cyberpunk as much as everybody else did, at least at first. I've kind of liked it more on replays, but I'm excited to get a full fantasy-driven CD Projekt Red game, and hopefully The Witcher 4 will be what The Witcher 3 was, but kind of a modern version, or maybe it'll be disappointing. We'll see, but either way, this looked really cool, and I dig it, and I did not see this one coming. Another big shocker was From Software with their next game. Now, of course, people have been wondering after Elden Ring what their follow-up would be, and of course they did have the Armored Core game, which is technically their follow-up. But we got a new, weird Elden Ring game. I thought this was an expansion by the trailer, but it seems to be a fully fledged Elden Ring co-op game. So it's going to be the Elden Ring and sort of From Software combat, but in a co-op sort of dungeon crawling style game. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of these games because I suck at video games, so I just don't have a lot of fun playing these because they're very hard. But maybe this will be fun to play co-op with, like, some friends. And yeah, I know this is probably just going to win Game of the Year next year. Actually, no, it won't. GTA 6. But this is going to be everybody's favorite thing for, like, a month when it comes out. So yeah, if you're somebody who loves From Software, there is a new From Software type game coming out. A weird new co-op Elden Ring. We also got the first look at the new game coming from the guys that make the Shadow of the Colossus and The Last Guardian. These are games that are absolutely beloved. They're games that are very experimental, very interesting, very weird, very cinematic with its storytelling and its characters. We don't have a title for this game, which is interesting to reveal a game without a title. Really tells you the game's really close to releasing, huh? But yeah, it looks interesting, and I'm so down for stuff like this because I just know the creators of this game. They deliver, so this will be cool when it eventually happens. We got a long gameplay trailer for The Outer Worlds 2, as well as a release date, which is coming out next year, which is nuts, because they're about to release, Obsidian, of course, the developers, a game called Avowed. So they're releasing 2 gigantic open-world RPG games in 1 year. Why can't more gaming companies develop at the speed of Obsidian? Now, I enjoyed the first Outer Worlds game. It wasn't like my favorite thing ever because I'm just not a big RPG guy. But I'm definitely going to check this out, and I want to see how they are able to kind of expand this game world. And I'm actually really excited for Avowed as well. So we'll be playing both of those next year. Very cool. The dude that makes these weird co-op games, right? The really fun guy that's always at the Game Awards cursing, and he made It Takes Two and A Way Forward or A Way Out, whatever the hell it's called. They have a new game which looks like the perfect game to play if you have close friends to play on a split screen or a girlfriend. So I've never played any of his games, but I know a lot of people dig this stuff. These are Game of the Year contenders every time they come out. This one's called Split Fiction, and it looks really artsy and really cool, and looks like it has a creative story and a creative take. And yeah, I know a lot of people are going to dig this, so this was also a cool reveal. We had a look at Borderlands 4 following the horrible, horrible Borderlands movie this year. Yeah, it's more Borderlands. Studio that makes the Like a Dragon games, they actually announced 2 games. One of these I'm not that excited for, and one really caught my eye. Now, I'm not a big fan of these Yakuza games. Granted, I just haven't really played them, so it's not that I'm not a fan, I just don't really get exposed to them, but I know a lot of people really dig them. The first reveal was this game called Virtue Fighter, which I believe is going to be a remake of a Sega-era game. It's a fighting game set in, I guess, in like a Yakuza-like universe, so if you're somebody who digs that stuff, that's coming. We also got a trailer for this game called Project Century. I think it's actually going to be renamed to another Like a Dragon thing, but this is a Japanese Yakuza-style game set in the early 18th century. It looks brutal, bloody, and just awesome. It looks like so much fun. The graphics are absolutely stunning on this one. So yeah, it almost looks like a too good to be true type scenario here, but I am very, very much excited for this one. This one really caught my eye. There's a new Turok game coming out. I remember playing these games when I was a kid. It looked alright, but yeah, that's kind of cool. Just caught me by surprise. Where the hell did this one come from? Capcom released a game that looks like almost every single game coming out these days. Another like big, gigantic Japanese From Software style action game. It's called Onimusha: The Way of the Sword. This one looked cool aesthetically. The little glimpses of combat looked alright, but it just looks like so many other games. I thought it was a continuous trailer of one of the 50 games that were revealed in the last year that look exactly like this, so we'll see what this one becomes. There was a reveal for a new Game of Thrones game called The Game of Thrones: The King's Road. Now, granted, 2 things. First, this trailer looks awesome. I want a Game of Thrones game so bad. I think Game of Thrones, it's one of my favorite worlds ever. There are so many different things you could do in a video game. A giant RPG, a story-driven, like, Naughty Dog type adventure. There are so many different aspects you could do. I know Telltale made a game that I thought was actually pretty okay, but a lot of people didn't like. This seems to be a sort of role-playing action game. A game where you play as this dude who's a member of the Night's Watch, during the events of Game of Thrones, which is a little iffy. I wish it would kind of go back in time or go to a time period where you could do a bigger story and interfere in the larger politics of Westeros. But here you're interacting with them, with Jon Snow, with Jaime Lannister, with Cersei Lannister, and it looks like a really fun adventure and a really fun time of kicking ass and fighting White Walkers. The only issue is, this is being made by a company that makes mobile games. It's a Japanese company that makes a lot of mobile games, and they did not specify if this was a fully fledged console game, which would be amazing, or a mobile game. My guess is it will be a mobile game, but even if it isn't, I don't know if I have a lot of faith in a company that has never made a fully fledged, gigantic game, making a mega Game of Thrones game, and if they are, I would question why Warner Brothers Games decided to give a big Game of Thrones action game on console to a studio like this. That's weird. Give it to, Rocksteady. But if this is a fully fledged game, I'm so here for it. It's been way overdue that we get a good Game of Thrones project in the video game world. I mean, my god, how has it not happened yet? It's so awesome. I got chills watching this trailer, and it might be a mobile game. Then we had some awards. Fallout won Best Adaptation, and the only reason I wanted to mention this one is because Jonathan Nolan accepted the award, and I thought it was really, really funny that in the same year his brother Christopher Nolan wins an Oscar for Best Picture and Best Director for Oppenheimer. Jonathan Nolan wins Best Adaptation for Fallout at the Game Awards. These brothers, man, they're killing it. I'm sure he would love that Emmy, but I don't think it's coming. Got a longer look at what's turning out to be one of my most anticipated games of next year, Mafia: The Old Country. This is essentially Mafia 4, but it's a prequel that takes place in Italy in the early 18th century. And yeah, listen, I love the Mafia games. Mafia 3, I know a lot of people don't love, but it's one of my favorite games ever. I've played through it so many times. Love Mafia 2. The remake of Mafia 1 is fantastic. I am so here for this. I love Hangar 13 and their sort of engine and their gameplay. I think is really fun and fresh, and they have a really, really strong ability to tell stories and write good characters. They are just a really good game studio, does not get enough credit, and this is their big follow-up to Mafia 3 that's been in the work for a lot of years. And it looks absolutely stunning and incredible. The world, the gameplay, the characters, just everything about this looks like my type of thing. And outside of GTA 6 and maybe Death Stranding 2, because Kojima, you're my guy, this might be my most anticipated game for next year. I cannot wait for this to come out. By the way, Kojima was there, not showing off Death Stranding or any of the other 50 games he's developing. Death Stranding is supposed to be coming out next year, but yet again, this is one of those situations where I think they're saving it for the Sony stuff, for the Sony events, to just put out trailers. So even though Kojima's there, not showing off his game that's supposedly coming out this year. Or next year, whatever. The last major reveal we got at the event, outside of the Naughty Dog thing, which I already covered, was a sequel to this game called Okami. Now listen, I have never played the original Okami game, but I saw Twitter absolutely explode when this was announced. Jeff Keighley was literally crying on stage, so it made me want to go back and play the original Okami game to see what the hell people are freaking out about, and I might do that. But yeah, there is a sequel to this magnificent game that's apparently gorgeous, artsy, beautiful. Listen, if it can make Jeff Keighley cry, it might be able to make me cry. So that was something that everybody thought was the one last thing until, of course, the Naughty Dog thing happened. So yeah, Okami sequel, if that's something you dig, it's coming. And then we had Game of the Year. Now granted, this has been a very weak year for gaming, and I don't want to give my overall opinion on the games of the year until I do my end of the year video talking about video games. Of course, this is a movie, TV channel primarily, so if you're waiting for that video game video, I have not played every game this year, so don't expect some in-depth breakdown of every single game ever. But if you like movies, TV shows, and video games, some video game stuff spread throughout, just subscribe to the notifications. But of course, this has been a weaker year for gaming. For me personally, there haven't been many huge titles that I've played this year, and Game of the Year this year was Astro Bot. A game that was originally intended to be a demo for the PS5 is now a fully fledged platforming, franchise for Sony, and it won Game of the Year. I have not played Astro Bot. I plan on playing it now that it's won Game of the Year. But yeah, the fact that I feel like this could win in a year like this, I feel like most years Astro Bot wouldn't win, but maybe I'm just ignorant, I don't know. All the other games that were nominated this year, none of them really blew me away from the ones that I played. The only one that I absolutely adored was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which for some reason, there's like this weird thing with Final Fantasy VII, the remakes at least, and even Final Fantasy 16. People go crazy when these things haven't come out yet, the reveals, the trailers. I remember last year, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was the one last thing at the Game Awards, the one last big reveal, and people went nuts for it. People absolutely love this franchise until they come out. They come out, they get reviewed very positively, people love them, but then there's just nothing else for them. There's no major praise, there's no awards. It's just very strange. I thought Final Fantasy VII Rebirth was easily the game of the year for me, but it seems like nobody else really thought so as well, especially not the award show giving it to Astro Bot. But yeah, Maybe it deserves it. But that's pretty much it. Listen, the Game Awards this year, really, really good. The Naughty Dog game being revealed was a shocker. The Witcher 4, I mean, the Mafia Old Country. Sure, we didn't get Resident Evil 9. Where is Resident Evil 9, Capcom? Like, what's going on with that thing? We've been waiting years. Usually every 2 years they come with a game. So 2 years ago we had Resident Evil 4. This seems to be, 2025 feels like the year for Resident Evil 9, but it seems like it's now being pushed back, which hopefully is a good thing. Hopefully means it's just a meaty game. We didn't get the Max Payne remakes, which we know are coming from Remedy, but yet again, they just released Alan Wake 2 a year ago, so like, relax, everyone. No GTA 6. Why do people always expect GTA 6 to show up at these things? Rockstar knows who they are. They know what they are. They don't need the Game Awards. GTA is bigger than all of this shit. It's the biggest thing, like, ever. So when they show it, it'll be on their time. But this is just a great show. There were a lot of surprising reveals. The one thing I will say, please, Jeff Keighley, cut down on the commercials. Why are there 50 commercial breaks? This show could be an hour and a half long if you cut out all the bullshit. I mean, please, it's torture. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like this video, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.